Hello, welcome to Thursday night's Hotline Live with Record Sport. My name is Daniel Collum. Delighted as ever to be joined by the one and only Keith Jackson. Keith, happy Thursday.
How we doing?
You seem a bit harassed.
Yeah, well, a little bit. We've got some breaking news at the top of the show, Dan. With regards, it's a bit of a hammer blow actually for Rangers and their title hopes. You see, we're joined by Mick Gannon
Back by
and
popular demand.
back by popular demand, and we've got. I mean, that's sensational bit of dramatic news at Celtic that after conducting a worldwide search lasting 12 months to find a replacement for Kyogo Furuhashi. It looks like they've finally got there by appointing and re-signing Kyogo Furuhashi. So that's in this kind of circle of kind of cyclical sort of a pattern that Celtic are adopting right now of if we need to make a change, can we go back to what we used to? So we'll have some breaking news on that. But first of all, Dan, I think I'll tell you what. First of all, I complained about the state of this desk yesterday, didn't I?
You did.
I demanded, Daniel, that you got me a new desk.
And like magic.
Like magic, our Swedish producer Henrik has come in and just turned it to a different angle.
Well, there you go.
Albeit this isn't grubby down this end anymore, so that's one thing.
Perfect. Nothing to
But
worry
it's
about.
not
There
exactly. I mean, it's not exactly what I was looking for there, is it?
So is that desk now lengthways, Keith? Is that the whole?
Yeah, that's what they've done. That's because I complained about it yesterday, Mick. They've decided to take urgent action and turn it the other way around.
Like a medieval banquet table type of thing. Like somebody's sitting about 20 feet the other side of the table for ahead of you.
Aye.
Pass the salt, you need to slide up the table.
Anyway, Daniel,
Listen,
where were we?
Obviously you mentioned Kyogo, some Celtic transfer news, which Mick has written today for Record Sport, so we'll come to that. But probably best to start with the Rangers news, Keith.
Yeah, it is a bit of a hammer blow.
Quite a big blow for Danny Doe.
Well, look, I think even earlier today, Rangers were hoping, or certainly after Tuesday night's win over Aberdeen, Danny Rowe was hoping that the injuries weren't that bad and that both Connor Barron and Dujon Sterling might be available to make the trip up to Pittodrie this weekend. That ain't going to happen. I think both players went away for scans and the results have not been well received. I think for Connor Barron, he's looking at best 2 months on the sidelines. He's damaged his knee. I think he opened it up towards the end and had to be replaced late on in that game. It seems that the very best case scenario, he'll be out until March. And it could be longer than that, depending how the rehab goes. Dujon Sterling, I don't think there's a defined timeline. But it's substantial enough damage to a hamstring, which will keep him out for very probably a similar length of time. Again, depending what his rehab's like. And we know with Dujon Sterling, I mean, he was out 8 months last season when he ruptured an Achilles. He has had difficulty getting back before. He only returned to action at the start of December. And these are two real key players for Rangers. Dujon Sterling was keeping James Tavernier out of the starting lineup at Parkhead at the weekend, and has really emerged as I think head and shoulders probably one of Danny Rowe's top performers defensively. So that's going to be a big miss. It means that for the foreseeable future, it'll be James Tavernier will hold down the right back slot, but the only cover available being Max Aarons. So that's a blow because it limits options there. And in midfield, Connor Barron, I think he's been having a terrific season. He's probably been Rangers' outstanding player over the course and distance. Turns it in performance after performance. Man of the match against Aberdeen the other night. 2 assists with his dead ball deliveries. He's been terrific. And a constant buzz bomb, isn't he? A total live wire. Rangers are going to miss his energy. And obviously, on the Rangers front, and I know that you've spoken with Andy Newport, I think Rangers are throwing some significant moves in the transfer market, about £7.5 million. They'll have spent probably by tomorrow, when you would expect two new arrivals will be announced. One of them, Tochi Chukwani as a central midfield player, and I think Danny Rowe was really hoping to beef up his options in the centre of the pitch, but it's one in, one out because Connor Barron's going to be missing for a while. And the other bit of news for Rangers is that Tuur Rommens, a left back, looks as if that's going to get done for about $3.5 million. Chukwani probably about $4 million. So these are really significant moves, and it shows you how seriously Rangers are going to treat the second half of this season. They think they're in the race, but that's a real heavy blow to them. Just when it feels as if they're building momentum and going for it in the transfer market, they lose two guys that would probably be in Danny Rowe's starting 11 on a weekly basis or a game by game basis.
Aye, absolutely. That is a big blow. And as you mentioned there, Keith, I caught up with Record Sports Andy Newport to talk about the Rangers transfer news, and we'll come to that a little bit later on. But Mick, you've got some quite big Celtic news. Maybe should best start with Kyogo.
Yeah, potentially. It's far from done and dusted. In fact, listen, Kyogo at the moment, as it stands, Celtic would love to have him back. Birmingham don't particularly want him. And the question now is, does Kyogo want to come back? So I'm led to believe that the ball is now in Kyogo's court. Listen, there are some financial issues that still have to be overcome as well. He's on big money at Birmingham, by the way. He's on, much more than he's on at Celtic, that's for sure. I think you're talking about 35, 40 grand a week. Wow. And it shows you what Birmingham are paying right now, the Tom Brady kind of revolution.
What's so that, Mick? Probably about twice as much as he was earning at Celtic.
I think, yeah, not far off it. Not far off that, yeah. So listen, I don't think that's going to be that big a hurdle because Celtic are now in desperation stakes, need a striker, and I think if it comes to even paying the full whack for 6 months, I don't think that's a problem. The problem I think is Kyogo himself. I'm led to believe that as of last night, people I know around it who spoke to people who were around it last night suggested that Celtic were not particularly hopeful that Kyogo wanted to come back to Glasgow. What I do think, though, is that today I think things maybe have moved on slightly. I think Celtic are saying, we would like to have you back. I think Kyogo would maybe be thinking, I'll maybe wait to the window how it unfolds and see what my options are. Celtic can't afford to wait to the last week of the window. These loan deals that happen in the final days of the window when the options are explored. Yeah. Celtic can't wait that long. So I think Celtic are saying, right, we want you back. We'll obviously know what you're about. Get a chance to kickstart your career in front of fans who adore you. But this answer's got to happen in the next 24, 48 hours or so. They need to know. They want him for
the Dundee United game, don't they, Mick?
Well, listen, he needs to be in on January the 1st. We're now January the 8th. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think it's a case of, it's almost like, we need to do this, do it now. And it's now, the ball is firmly in Kyogo's court. As it stands, I'm aware, as far as I'm aware, it's in his court. So he might, now given push come to a shove, he might say, you know what, okay, I want to go back there and kickstart my career. If he says he wants to sit and wait tight for another few weeks, that might not work. However, Celtic could easily say, right, we'll go and get one of our other targets on the big list of, seems to look a bit blank at the moment. And then
that's calling some bluff, isn't it?
Well, that'd be going all in a pair of twos, I think it's known. So
go and try and reach last or something.
But listen, if Kyogo, Celtic get their ducks in order and get a striker in now, even if it's not Kyogo, you get a chance to get him in later in the window. Celtic need two strikers, not only one striker, need two strikers.
Yeah.
So Kyogo would be a live one beyond, even if it is suggested. But what I mean is Celtic need to move on to top targets quickly. So this has to be a kind of a move that's done relatively speedily. So it's all about to Kyogo. If he wants to come back, then I think it can happen. If he's not that keen, it might not. Then again, it could be someone visited if the numbers add up later in the window. So listen, he's had a bit of a stinker year. Let's be honest. He scored one goal this in the calendar year, or since he left Celtic last January. Had a nightmare at Rennes. Barely kicked a ball. Goes to Birmingham for another big fee, 10 million again, 2 10 million moves in a year. He only scored one goal. Was it in the League Cup? I think against Sheffield United. League Cup. Right, yeah. Not scored in the Championship. Missed a ton of chances. So he's kind of going. I'm not saying they're going nowhere fast, but it's kind of looking that way. Where does he go next? He's not going to English Premier League. He's not going to English Championship. So does he go back to Japan or abroad? Maybe. He's got a World Cup in the summer. He's got to think about. I know that looks I mean, it looks like
that ship's probably sailed, Mick,
well,
because the
I was
whole
going to
idea of
say-
him going to France in the first place was to
well,
try and beef up his chances, wasn't it?
he didn't get much of a look at him as at Celtic when he was in banging form. So I must admit, I mean, I've got to be honest, not to be harsh, but there's probably more chance of me going to the World Cup with Japan. But again, that might be in the back of his head as well. But getting back playing on a weekly basis, that's his contracts at Birmingham until 2028. So I mean, so there's a lot of money on the table as well. So I think that it's a live issue. I think some talk today. It's more encouragement from that side of things. But there's a few hurdles that need to be cleared. But
how do you think, Mick, the Celtic fans will react to this? Because on the one hand, if you get the Kyogo back that was there when he was really motivated and was firing on all cylinders, what a striker, what a player he was for Celtic. If you get the Kyogo towards the end of his stint at Celtic when he really wanted away and the body language wasn't great, then has a poor year, as you've just said.
Yeah.
But also it feeds into this narrative about Celtic are stuck just now. They're not advancing. They're not opening borders. They're not moving in a forward direction. It's just every time something goes wrong, well, let's go and get him because he did a job previously. Ange Postecoglou leaves. Let's go and bring back Brendan Rodgers. Rodgers, let's get rid of him. Okay, let's bring back Martin O'Neill. Right, Martin O'Neill, thanks for the interim. In comes Wilfred Nonce, bin him off, bring back Martin. In the meantime, we need a left back, Kieran Tierney. Let's go and get him. I think the whole thing feels a bit broken. Where is Celtic's forward progression here? It's all stuck. They feel stuck. I was almost like in a time loop.
I mean, malfunction, I think, would be the word I would use. I mean, listen, I think two things are operating at the same time here. Is Kyogo a proven goal scorer in Scotland and for Celtic? Yes. Would he be a slightly less risky signing than some because of that? Probably yes. So there is that. That is true. But it's also true that this kind of signing is a working example of a recruitment department that is failing. If you spend 12 months plus the 6 months we knew he was going to leave to get a striker, and it takes you all the way back to the guy who left 12 months ago, you're basically putting your hands up and saying this recruitment department is failing and badly. And this is going back. You can go back to last January when Celtic were in for various kind of wide men, end up re-signing Kyogo, who hadn't played for kind of a year and wasn't fit. It was going to take 3 or 4 months to get fit, and got injured when he was trying to get fit. Another signing, like you say, going back to a player who, I'm not saying pretty much bang the door asking to come back, but not far off it. And then they go and get one off Brendan Rodgers' Rolodex. They need a left back to cover Greg Taylor. Goes and get Jeffrey Schlupp, 33-year-old Jeffrey Schlupp, who had one good game, which happened to be against Bayern Munich with a cracker out there. The rest of the time he was pretty hopeless. Again, so where's the recruitment department in last January? Nowhere to be seen. And you went to summer. Listen, it's been over the summer. I'm in complete shambles. But you get to January. The January 1 opens up. They get a loan signing from Bournemouth, which need a right back competition. But the guy who's available for a loan deal, fair enough. But the striker was their priority. And I said it all night. At 1 minute past midnight, there's been a guy standing outside Park in the dark with a scarf above his head.
Absolutely.
And it's not happened because the recruitment department has failed for a prolonged period of time. So you can point. But
Tisdale's been chopped, so he's paid the ultimate price, and they are where they are right now, and it is a needs must situation, isn't it? This is an urgent.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So that is a key. That is true. The recruitment department has pretty much collapsed in the last 12 months. Tisdale has to carry the can, and he's gone. Right. So that's fine. So that means that they're now left scrambling, dealing with agents, dealing with their contacts, and dealing with players who played at the club before, and trying to get through the next 6 months to somehow restructure and find a way to get the club going in some sort of direction again. Finding a director of sport or director of football to get the place organised. Finding a manager in the summer. All these things can wait. I suppose they have to go in the background. But in the meantime, it's get a striker, get players in the door, give Martin O'Neill a chance to get back in the title race. So I understand why the Kyogo phone call happens, because listen, I'd love to be a fly in the wall at the meeting that had Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney and a few of the kind of support staff at Lennoxtown. Said, right, show me the extensive list I've got. Tell me where we are here, where are we in terms of negotiations? What button do I need to hit to hit the yes to these guys? And they go, well, I mean Kyogo might be available from Birmingham. He's not scored in 12 months. Great stuff, guys. Let's come back next week, reconvene next week, see where we are. I mean, that's
Any chance of slapping in a bid for Adam Eder?
aye, have a blueberry muffin. Here we go. I mean, it's not a great look, is it, really, for Celtic right now? But it's symptomatic of a club that's kind of lost its way a wee bit in terms of a lot of things.
You mentioned, Keith, the reaction from Celtic fans, and we've got plenty of reactions coming in now in the comments.
I bet it's a mixed bag, Dan.
It's very mixed. There's some Celtic fans who are buzzing at the thought of Kyogo come back, but there's some who, it seems weird that they're not that keen on replacing Kyogo with Kyogo, Tierney with Tierney, Jota with Jota, and Martin O'Neill with Martin O'Neill.
I forgot Jota. Yeah.
Jota as well. Let me read out a few of these. Craigie says, Kyogo, 20 goals, last 18 games of Celtic, will win the league by 8 points. Sean says, I take Kyogo and Bowie, would consider that a good window for strikers. But Ross says that really sums up the Celtic board, replacing Kyogo with Kyogo. Absolutely no chance I want him back. Davey says he'd give us 15 goals. We need him, but still rather have another backup. Gavaldo points out he scored 2 goals since he left. Paul says, so after a year of waiting on a striker, Kyogo's replacement is Kyogo. That would just sum up this board's inability to look forward. It's completely unfit for purpose. And Dennis says, are Celtic going back in time? O'Neill twice, Jota, Tierney and Kyogo. To go back long enough, they might even win a European trophy. And just finally, Green for goal. Why, oh why do we keep going back for old players? Kenny has scored more than Kyogo. It's lazy scouting and desperate. So I think definitely mixed is the right way to put it.
Yeah. Listen, the way they're going to bring these guys back, it'll be Wayne Biggins coming back with his boots now. It's going now.
Listen, you better make sure that Chris Sutton's tied down on a contract with Record Sport, Mick. We can't have any hostile moves for him.
Well, the last time Big Sutty was involved in one of these charity games, Big Man bottled it and was a manager rather than a player.
Is that right?
I put against him and I said, "How do you know you have boots on?" He's, "Oh no, excuses."
Bottle merchant.
So I think he's happy where he is. He's quite content with it. There's no going anywhere.
Listen, there's 2 ways of looking at this here. They've brought back Martin O'Neill. I think that Martin O'Neill is going to find the second half of this campaign a little bit tougher than his first interim stint. I think that he came in there, he had really nothing to lose. It was a bit of a lap of honour. This incredible, surreal kind of occasion that the guy from 20 years ago gets to come in and keep the seat warm for somebody. Did a brilliant job. An immaculate job, just about 7 wins out of 8 games, and it's forced him into this position. And it probably didn't help Wilfred Nonce settle into the position because he just looked like a downgrade from day one. So Martin O'Neill's back, but this time it's not a free hit. This time the pressure is on. It's on him, fair and square. It's not just a case of minding the shop. He's got it till the end now. The destiny of Celtic's season, the title defence, the Scottish Cup is all on Martin O'Neill. With that comes a pressure that wasn't there in the first interim shot. Now, I'm not saying for a single second that Martin O'Neill's not going to cope with pressure. Martin O'Neill spent his whole life coping with pressure. But it does change things slightly. I wonder if we might get a slightly different version of Martin O'Neill. He's also going to have a huge say in the comings and goings in January. Again, what makes that slightly difficult is that everything that Celtic do right now is a short-term sort of last-a-place fix, because they can't sit down and start handing out, 4-year contracts to players in January for a manager who has said that he's no intention of going again next year. So everything's got to be temporary. Everything's got to be a short-term solution. It's not ideal that Kyogo needs to be persuaded, or try and lulled into accepting this move. That's a bad start, and that would give me alarm bells right from the get-go on it. But if Martin O'Neill can work his magic, and this is where one of his obviously strong suits is his ability to manage people. If Martin O'Neill can get on the phone to Kyogo and work a bit of the magic and get him back, Martin O'Neill is the one guy that will be able to get then something out of somebody who's not feeling great about themselves. That's what he does. It's what he's always done. We were sitting talking on the show the other night, Dan, and I mentioned, I think Martin O'Neill will be looking at the sort of level that he was first time round when he could go and get a Sutton and a Hearts and guys who were proven top quality strikers. Just they had fallen on the luck a little bit. And their careers had stalled a little bit. Martin O'Neill was the guy that could reignite them. He did it with them. Kyogo might be an example of that. I don't like the fact that he needs to be persuaded. But again, Mick, there's another one that falls into the exact same category as the Chris Sutton, John Hartson, and it's a story that you were writing about earlier on today.
Yeah, it was a more of a kind of a kind of opinion he hit from. We were talking to kind of Alan Stubbs about potential signings, and he thinks that Callum Wilson would be the perfect signing in this window.
I think Martin O'Neill would be all over that if he thought for a second they could make it happen.
Well, Stubbsy, who knows Martin obviously very well, he said that this is the guy who would be the ideal Martin O'Neill signing. I mean, he's put it at top level. Okay, he's 33, right? I know he's injury problems. I know that's the gamble. But Celtic are in the gambling period now in this season. But he's a proven top-class operator. I mean, the Bournemouth and Newcastle, I thought he was really good. So, yes, 32, 33 now. But if he's fit and available, he looks like a Martin O'Neill type centre-forward. By the way, I mean, I think Stubbsy was saying that he'd be probably the best striker in Scotland if he arrived. And I see his point because he's got the pedigree. Certainly the most experienced guy at that level. Obviously, you've got the caveat is, I suppose, you look at what's happened with Iniacho coming in, a lot of pedigree, but it couldn't stay fit, which was maybe inevitable given his background in the last few years. Again, Wilson's another one, injury problems. It is a worry, but Celtic are at a point they need to try and throw the dice.
All hands on deck now, Mike.
Roll the dice. I mean, I think, and Martin O'Neill, what I think he will do, he won't overcomplicate it. They won't be thinking about players that are going to be worth £5-10 million in 3 years' time, who are going to they can play and have great XGs and all that stuff, and the numbers stats are great. That's fine, right? That is part of the modern game, right? So as like you say, it's a Lasterplast, it's Band-Aid time, and he's 2 strikers, a right winger, a centre half for starters. There's these four big signings that can potentially walk into the team. I think you can get away with Scales Trust, the centre half, but he needs a backup centre half. I mean, Simpson Pusey is obviously away, having been a complete waste of time for whatever reason. I think they can get by. I mean, elsewhere. I think the right wing is obviously an issue because that was the one glaring point missing. So, and 2 strikers. So there's your 4. If you can get 4 first-team ready guys, and if you can get guys of the calibre of Callum Wilson, then you think, yeah, we're in good shape for the run-in here. But these guys don't come cheap, even in a short-term deal. There'll be clubs thinking exactly the same thing. I mean, I don't know what the deal was at West Ham, but he wouldn't have been on buttons, that's for sure.
Yeah, he'll be in big. He'll be in big though. I think he was he not on a pay-per-play deal at West Ham?
Talk is, yeah. Which wouldn't have been cheap. But you look back, we talked about Martin O'Neill's first spell. Martin O'Neill went and bought in Chris Sutton. Chris Sutton broke the British transfer record twice at Blackburn and then at Chelsea. He's a £10 million striker in 1998. Won the but it cost £5 million in 1995. Silly Billy's buying £9 million now, £5 million now, 30 years later.
I know it's mad.
So I mean, to get the calibre of that striker now, imagine you went and got the record signing in the Premier League striker the next year in Scotland, it'd be £150 million.
No.
Even after a season that wasn't particularly great for him. So not forget that kind of level. But I mean, something like Callum Wilson is a pedigree striker. It just depends on whether they can get that. That is financially, perhaps, maybe I would imagine a leap too far because he will have offers.
I just do think, Mike, it fits the Martin O'Neill profile. You know that way, the big performers that are down in their luck, their careers stalled a little bit. Martin O'Neill's your man. Well, I think. As I said to you, I can see where Alan Stubbs is coming from in that one. I think it totally makes sense.
Because he knows that he can't go to Callum Wilson and say, listen, I'll give you 80 grand a week for 6 months to win the league. But what he might say is, listen, you're 33, come up here, go be a hero. We'll give you
20 goals.
We'll give you 25 bob a week. you might get a picture on the wall at the end of the season. But at 33, he might listen, you know how football's his finances, right? If he gets an offer from Saudi or America for that kind of money, he's off ski and taking it. And why wouldn't you? If he fancies something a bit different for 6 months that might float his boat, like Kasper Schmeichel, like Joe Hart, some of these guys, does happen. It's not completely off the table. Some guys that have made their nest eggs through the years might think, you know what, I fancy a bit of that for 6 months.
And Mick, because this is season 25-26, Celtic's bid to bring in the winger from Israel, says it Tabai?
Jocelyn Tabai, yeah.
Tabai, yeah.
It looks as if it might have to get scuppered because the guy that runs the club that would be selling him to Celtic for a couple of £1 million is also selling drones to Israel. I mean, you just couldn't make this up.
Well, apparently Daniel's got a 10-minute pre-record with Kate Eddy. The latest Raggy Oman's on the video link for the next 10 minutes, so he can take over for this one from me. That's beyond my mental, political, and intellectual sphere.
But just in terms of the deal itself, obviously it's been the pause button's been pressed, and that became evident about 24 hours ago, maybe longer than that. And it made sense because Martin O'Neill did say, look, there is one in the door that I've had nothing to do with. From now on, from this point onwards, anybody that comes in January, I'll be having the final say on it. So it did make sense at that point because Celtic were quite far down the road. I think deal basically agreed. Press the pause, and you're thinking it's only because Martin O'Neill is now going to have to assess this. There might be other political reasons it transpires. But in terms of where the deal is at, is it still just pressed on pause? Is it going to be cancelled?
Yeah, and also because of what I said earlier, that Celtic don't need a 22-year-old prospect who's played 12 games this year in Israel, who could be the next 5 million, 10 million guy.
Yeah,
that's not what they need to get for that kind of player to come in and hit the ground running. Listen, it happened with Leila Bada come in on a cheap deal from Israel and hit the ground running and turn it a major prospect, and it was a fantastic player for Celtic. So there is that aspect that needs must. Now the projects and the kind of developments and the kind of punts are not for this window. It's guys that are going to come in and actually have a material difference in the title race.
Away from Celtic, guys, Stephen in the comments says, good afternoon. Hope we at Ibrox bring in a player or two before the weekend, especially with all the injuries Aberdeen give us. That's a bit harsh. But that brings me to my next point, Keith. I caught up with Record Sports' Andy Newport earlier today for the lowdown on the latest Rangers news. Shall we hear what he's saying?
Let's do that, Dan.
Let's have a listen.
The one and only Andy Newport joins us on the hotline now. Andy, the Roll Revolution appears to be underway at Ibrox. What can you tell us about the latest Rangers transfer news?
Yeah, it's all kicking off. I think a lot of the Rangers fans were starting to get a bit frustrated, the lack of transfer activity coming to Ibrox, but it's all sort of started to get rolling in the last 24 hours. Reliably informed that Tuur Rommens is on his way from Antalya in Turkey, where he's been training with Westerlo, left back, Belgian under-21 left back. Rangers have made an offer, somewhere in the region of about £3.5 million. He's on his way over to Glasgow as we speak, I think, having that offer's been accepted. So it looks like certainly the people in Belgium, his club in Belgium expect that one to go through. It looks like he'll be coming in as the sort of new left back option for Danny Rowe's team.
Does that mean, Andy, that James Penrice was linked recently as well? Does that mean Rangers moved on from that? Or, personally, in my view, it wouldn't be mad to sign both of them given how little cover they've got at left back.
Listen, I was told sort of early last week, maybe the week before, that he was on our list of targets, but it wasn't a priority. I know that there's been some reports in Greece that said an offer went in. I'm not entirely sure if that is the case, but listen, I think judging by the sounds coming out at Ike Athens, is that wasn't going to be a deal that they were looking to do. They were, unless there was silly money involved, frankly. I think they were they were quite happy with him, having paid £2 million to get him from Hearts in the summer. I think he's been playing fairly regularly over there. Last time I checked, I think he made something like 15, 16 starts, another sort of 9 or 10 off the bench. So I think he's somebody that they're quite happy with. So they weren't prepared to let him go unless they were going to get a substantial return on their summer investment. So I think it's just been a case that Rangers have decided that there's a more, value for money deal over in Belgium with obviously Rommens at Westerlo. They're sort of mid-table outfit over in Belgium. Obviously, Ike are flying high. I think they're top of the Greek Super League. So I think it's just been come down to value, and they've decided that it's an easier deal to do going with Rommens.
Rommens, obviously, you mentioned £3.5 million. Another player that's been linked is Tochi Chukwani, who's a midfielder at Sturm Graz. It sounds like it's going to be quite a sizable outlay for Rangers this month? I mean, and obviously we all know what was spent in the summer too.
Just to say, I think that deal will go through. I think Rangers are quite confident. I think the bid might have even been accepted. So again, that one will be moving on to sort of negotiations with the player and then perhaps even a medical and get the deal done. So yeah, you're right. It is absolutely kicking off. If these two go through, it'll be something in the region of £7.5 million that Rangers have spent. That follows up. I'm told that the figure that they spent, the actual figure or spend figure they had in the summer was £38 million, something give or take a few $100,000 in that direction. So, they've spent a lot of money in the summer. They haven't seen much return in that. Some of the guys now are starting to, tick up. You like to your committees. It's certainly taking a time, but Danny Rowe's getting the best out of them. But listen, I think I was on the Rangers podcast, the Record Rangers podcast yesterday, saying that I think Rangers look to Danny Rowe to give him the players that he needs. He's worked a minor miracle to get this team back into a title race with the meagre resources he's got. So I think it's only right that they now give him the proper tools that he believes will be able to get him to the finish line. So it looks like they're certainly kicking up that transfer business. I think most people agree they probably need another couple more on top of these two guys coming in. Certainly need a centre back and probably a striker too.
And the other midfielder, Andy, we mentioned it the other night in the hotline, but Silas Anderson, who's the boy who came through Inter Milan, I think. He's the 6'4" Danish midfielder. Have you heard any more on him? Is he likely to move to Ibrox?
Again, he was one I was told was on a list. Whether or not he was high up or top of that list, I'm not sure. Again, I think the sums in that will be quite substantial, but the fact that they're obviously going for Chucky Wani from some Graz leads me to believe that maybe that one has sort of dropped down the priority list. I'm not too sure they would really have the funds or the space in the dressing room to go after two central midfielders. I think in terms of profile, I think they're quite similar. Sort of, big, powerful central midfielders that can go box to box, that can defend as well as add an attacking dimension. So it's definitely an area they need to address, especially as we reported yesterday. Obviously, there's some doubt over Conor Barron for this weekend's game up at Pittodrie. Took a bang to the knee. I know there's a lot of fears, whispers, rumours, really pessimistic rumours like that floating about the internet right now that might be a long-term one. That's not what I was told. I was told there was a chance he could make the weekend. That he's been assessed to get a bang to the knee against Aberdeen on Tuesday night. Whether it proves to be worse than first thought, we'll find out at tomorrow's press conference tomorrow morning up at the Rangers training ground. So, but I think the certainty is that Rangers definitely need an extra body and certainly somebody with a more, just a more defensively minded in their instincts. Just because I think there have been times, even saw it against Aberdeen, against Celtic recently, that there are moments when teams can cut through Rangers. It's been Jack Butland that of late that's been coming to the rescue, but that lock can only run so long. So I think they do need to get somebody else in there that can just screen the back four and offer a wee bit more protection.
I hope Barron's fit. They love him up at Pittodrie. The last thing, Andy, I know you mentioned Chermiti obviously found his shooting boots at Celtic Park, but a striker, is that still on Rangers' transfer radar? Because I kind of feel like they need a striker still, albeit Chermiti has improved.
I definitely think so, because again, you've got the club's view in Chermiti, and I know we've spoken about it a million times, is that this is a young kid, 21, I think he still is. Okay, he's come in with a huge transfer fee, and that brings its own expectations, but none of this is Yusuf Chermiti's fault. He didn't ask for an £8 million fee, didn't ask to be a £12 million signing when he moved from Sporting Lisbon to Everton. And it's obviously that, being such a young striker, and being a young player, but also playing in that position where there is so much pressure on you that they want to try and lift as much of that pressure off him as he can. If that means bringing another striker that can, be a bit more the regular front man, that can be somebody that will shoulder the majority of the goal scoring burden, then that'll be better for Yusuf Chermiti. It takes that pressure off him, allows him to develop at a calmer pace rather than having to, try and flog him into some kind of form. What I'll say, I think he's improved. Not drastically, but he's certainly improved in his short time at the club. I think he's learned how to deal with the rough and tumble of Scottish football. He's learned how to use his body. It was remarkable the first few weeks at the club, how easily he was getting shoved about. You're thinking, this guy's 6'4", looks like an absolute specimen. How's he getting sort of brushed off the ball so easily? So I think he's brought that on board. I think you saw certainly against St Mirren last week, against Celtic in the second half, especially at Parkhead, and then against Aberdeen in the sort of 55 minutes he was on the pitch, that he switched on and he's realised what he needs to do to cope with centre-backs in Scotland. So, but definitely in terms of goal scoring aspect, I think he could do with just having a wee bit of that pressure taken off him. So that's what I think Rangers will need. I mean, listen, Rangers haven't scored nearly enough goals. I mean, looking at the Premiership, the three top scorers are Chermiti with 4, then it's James Tavernier and Manny Fernandez also in 4. So
Wow, yeah, it will be Fernandez, yeah.
They aren't scoring enough goals.
Yeah. Andy, it's always a pleasure having you in the hotline live. Thank you so much for joining us as always, and I'm sure I will be pestering you again very soon.
Cheers, Daniel.
Cheers, Andy.
Andy Newport there, guys. And the Rangers fans in the comments are getting very excited, Keith. They're very confident.
Well, listen, I think first things first with this, it's certainly a declaration of intention in behalf of Andrew Kavanagh and the club's American owners. I said, what did I say? How many times did I say it, and how boring did it become that things at Rangers would have to get worse before they would get better after the takeover? And that's probably because I feared that Andrew Kavanagh would take a bit of time. I felt that he was making mistakes with the people that he was listening to, some of the appointments that were made, and I felt it was almost a fait accompli that these things would over time prove to be mistakes. I'm talking about your Kevin Thelwells. I'm talking about the summer transfer splurge. And clearly, over time, he's addressed it. He's come to Glasgow. He's taken ownership for the mistakes that were made. He's promised to fix them. And since that moment when he came back to Glasgow to do the mea culpa, to get rid of Russell Martin, to make the changes at boardroom level, Rangers have just been on the up. And now they've got themselves into this position under Danny Rowell in the league where they are in the mix. But I come back to the fact that I've been saying for a few weeks, I won't consider them genuine title contenders unless they come out of this January window with 2 or 3, possibly even 4 guys that walk straight into the starting 11 and improve it. Now, to do that, you need to spend money. So that was going to be the proof of the pudding. Would Andrew Kavanagh find the financial ability to finance what was really required to take Rangers from a promising position into a potential championship winning position? The fact that he's in 24 hours prepared to spend 7.5 million quid tells you your answer. And I think Rangers fans that might have been concerned about the direction that the club was going in previously, or certainly over the first few months of the season, I think they'll be taking great comfort from what's happening now, from the moves that are being made. And as I said, it's just a signal of intent. Celtic, as we were discussing, they're having to do everything on a sort of stopgap, kind of plug the holes basis from now until the end of the season. Their January will probably look most like loan signings, but Rangers look as if there's a bit of structure and a bit of longer planning to this. But also these guys, you're looking at the left backs, a Belgian under-21 international, which is not easy to achieve. And the midfielder, Chigwani, is a Danish under-21 international. That's a good quality of player. They're spending decent fees. And if there's another 1 or 2 to come that are on a similar level, I think Rangers come out of this window looking really, really strong. And I think on top of all that, Rangers were a bit fractured, weren't they? The support against the board, against, they weren't sure about Kavanagh. They certainly weren't having the manager. They weren't having Thelwell. It feels as if there's a bit of unity there and a bit of momentum, and it feels as if the fans now realise that they can trust in Andrew Kavanagh. And I think that's probably, in terms of the biggest picture, That's the most important thing. That Rangers feel as if they're a club that is now ready to step forward, while Celtic are running around in a circle, which isn't easy for me to say.
Just before we finish, guys, away from Celtic and Rangers, Aberdeen, they're still looking for a new manager as well, Mick. And Uwe Rosler is the latest name that's been linked today. Our colleague at Record Sports, Scott Burns, has filed a story saying that he's one of the leading contenders. Obviously, he was a Man City legend as a player. He's still in charge at Bochum.
Do you remember him as a player?
Me?
You, Dan, you.
Not really, to be honest with you. No, he's a wee bit before my time.
I do. He's sort of me and Mick's vintage, isn't he?
Well, listen, speak to yourself, Chaco. I do. That's right. I do remember him as a player. Actually,
he was a good player.
He was good. He was strong, wasn't he? He's been around. Listen, this is a very, very experienced manager.
He's managed all over the shop, eh?
He's got. I mean, I think I remember him spells. He played this with England as well, isn't he? He was at Leeds and a few other clubs down the divisions as well. Yeah. I don't know. I think everything's going to be interesting because obviously they've got their director of football up there who's a bit of a character. It looks to me to be some very.
I think that's where the link is, isn't it?
Yeah.
With Fenesteel and.
Fenesteel appointed him at Fortuna Düsseldorf as his manager.
So I think that, I mean, there's some pretty obvious names. I think even in their own country, you think listen, Stephen Robinson looks absolutely. I mean, just obviously right in front of you, isn't it? You've got Jens Bertholaskau at Motherwell. Again, Aberdeen regularly banging the door of these clubs at Murn and Motherwell for managers through the years. But you just think that their man is going to go in his own direction, aren't you? I mean, it doesn't seem like a guy who's going to stick to the kind of the safe Scottish option when he can bring in
I think Alan Burrows is personally blocking the move for Askew.
Aye, slightly mixed loyalties there. So I think it'd be interesting. I think it could be quite a left field one, purely for that reason. I think he might think he's got to kind of justify his role. So it might be quite a funky one. It could be interesting.
I think you're right. But by the way, while we're on the subject, what did you think of him appearing on the bench at Ibrox the other night?
I wasn't surprised. I spoke to somebody when I was doing my my Wilfred Noncy due diligence, which other people might have done at some point as well.
That would have been a good idea.
I'd heard that he'd done it before. He'd done it. I think it was at St. Louis. Right. I don't even think he was like director of football. I think he was like chief scout or something like that. He appeared on the bench shouting the ball on the touchline. So I think he has did previous before of doing it. So when I saw it again, I must have a wee chuckle because I'd heard that happen in the past.
I think the optics are terrible in that, Mick. Terrible.
Yeah, you think so?
It's cringeworthy.
Yeah.
Listen, this season's been bonkers. I quite like it.
It has.
Listen, I was at Pittodge. I remember when it was what do you call him? Ian Cathro was the manager at Hearts. It was Aberdeen, and Craig Levine was director of football, and he was passing notes down.
Sending the notes down.
I was working that day when the note came down from the stand. It turned out it was a shopping list rather than a tactical list. So it's not that. I mean, I thought it looks a wee bit kind of funky, but he's a guy who's been involved in the game a long time. He's passionate. Listen, this is a guy who wasn't arrested for stealing penguins and all that stuff. He's welcome in Scotland. This guy is made for Scottish football.
It just adds to the rich fabric, doesn't it?
He's a welcome addition to our game.
He'll fit right in the asylum, absolutely.
He will fit in absolutely perfect.
Before we finish, guys, a look at the next round of fixtures in the asylum. Big weekend coming up. Obviously, we all know Aberdeen Rangers is the big one on Sunday. Celtic, crucial game for them against Dundee United. But elsewhere, Hibs Motherwell, Keith, that will be an interesting one.
Yeah, it certainly will. Because these are two sides that are on the up, and they've got their eye on the battle at the top. They want to get involved in it, both of them. I'm obviously so impressed by Motherwell, but Hibs are coming on to form, aren't they? And the Derby wins really lit a fire under them. So I think that'll be a cracker. Obviously, Celtic Dundee United, there's going to be so many eyes on that. Martin O'Neill's return, albeit only a few weeks after his departure. But, Celtic need to get a bounce. I think the Celtic fans will be looking forward to seeing the formula rolled back out that made their side able to win games of football again. But Dundee United will go there fancying it. They will, because this is, Celtic are in turmoil. Whatever way you look at it, I know it's still Celtic, I know it's still at Celtic Park, but this is a club in absolute turmoil. And Dundee United could go there and think, do you know what? If you can get in front of this game, quieten the crowd a little bit, who knows? So who knows how that game goes? And then 2 absolutely huge games on the Sunday. Hearts, it's at Dens Park, isn't it?
Dundee, it's worth saying, we're 1-3 in a row now.
Yeah.
And they've finally hit a bit of form.
Listen, Stephen Presley was dismissed, wasn't he? People were joking about the appointment of Stephen Presley. Stephen Presley's a serious guy, and he's a good guy, and I'm delighted for him that he's starting to get a bit of momentum, to get a foothold, because you string 3 or 4 wins together in this league, you're going to jump up 3 and 4 places at a time. So I think that he probably took that job under the pressure and knowing if he didn't get a top 6 finish, well, that did for the last guy, so it might probably well do for him. So he's under pressure, but he is getting results, and he's worked slowly and diligently to put this side together. He stopped him leaking goals at the back. Now there's a little bit more attacking finesse and threat. So that's a difficult game for Hearts. But this is a Hearts side now which has to build, which knows the heat is on. It's had a little wobble. It really needs to try and put the foot down now and say to Celtic and Rangers, look, do you know what? You guys scrap it out between yourselves for second place. We're just going forward. And I think if every win right now is a statement win for Hearts. And I think, given the situation, if they go up to Dens Park and come way back down the road with 3 points, I think that's a real important. That would be a real important message to send out to the others and the rest of the league. And then, of course, you've got Rangers going to Pittodrie on the Sunday. They can't afford to slip. There is no wriggle room for Rangers. The mess that they made of themselves at the start of the season has made sure of that. So now, every game, they need to keep on building, the chipping away. There's no point in beating Aberdeen on the Tuesday night after beating Celtic and then going up there and dropping 3 points, because all the momentum that you're building starts to fall away, and they don't have wriggle room. The points differential. Okay, it's only 3 just now. They've played a game extra, but if they want to make a serious challenge, they need to keep the pressure on. So yeah, massive weekend of football.
Mick, are you being sent anywhere for Record Sport this weekend?
Yeah, I'll be at Celtic Park for Martin Neal's third coming.
Homecoming.
Having been at the game when he waved goodbye a few weeks ago, I'm firmly in the twilight zone again this weekend. As a cracking weekend, a cracking set of fixtures. I mean, looking at Levy Kelly at the bottom as well.
Oh, that'd be a big one.
A wee bit cut off. St Mirren looking over their shoulder. Dundee, by the way, have shot up. Given the best, this run is giving them a good bit of breathing space. So yeah, I think it's fascinating. Motherwell Hibs is another one. 2 of the form teams in the division, flying. I mean, 2 of them are really good form. Motherwell have been terrific, and Hibs now are coming up the rail. So it's a cracking weekend. It really is. I
think if you look at the form table, the recent form table, Mick, Rangers are sitting top and Motherwell in second with Hibs in third.
I'm glad it was right. I thought you would say actually Hibs had won a game for about 2 months or something like that. I thought you were correct me. I'm glad it was actually right.
No.
I think they've won twice in about 18 games. They're both playing pretty well. They've got a bit of form. So yeah, it's a cracking weekend. And there'll be something silly. But
100%.
Aye. Yeah. Well, whatever happens, we will be back in Hotline Live to review all and pull
over. A little bit later on Sunday.
I was going to say we'll be back on Sunday evening, not at 6, but at 7 p.m. due to the fact that Aberdeen Rangers is a 4:30 kickoff. So we'll be back at 7 p.m. on Sunday. We hope you can join us then. Thank you so much for all the comments. Mick, Keith, it's always a pleasure. Have a lovely weekend.
Thank you, Daniel. Cheers, Mick.
Catch you later, guys.
Thanks for watching at home. Cheers.